members of the consortium only had one vote.
Which also concerns me, and that's why I'm asking.
That's the same concern, because in my opinion, if we head down that road and there's a new trust agreement or agreement of how we're gonna operate this, each member, right, each district should have some explanation of voting rights, because the way that committee is set up now, I don't think it
Well, it's not equitable, right?
Not at all.
It doesn't make any sense, so.
I very much agree with you. And part of the new agreement is everybody gets one vote.
we almost need like you and veto power, right?
Well, you almost need like an electoral college, you know, basically.
I knew you did, so let me get it.
It's really based on population, you know, if you have 3 times the population of the town, you should get, 3 votes.
No, and we're taking pains to ensure that Rham is equally, is represented properly because of the number of lives that we insure. We insure about, probably about 500 lives. I think it's plus minus, it might go as low as 450. But we, by far and away, have the largest share of employees that are insured by it. If I'm not mistaken, at last count, we had, I think, 48% of the employees that took health insurance. So I think that needs to be recognized in the agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And we put this on next month's agenda for discussion and possible action concerning the insurance custodian.
Yeah, I wanted to, I was gonna mention, because it came up in finance committee, we were talking about possibly bringing forward a resolution to the board to consider for approval that would send the messages to the other participants that we're serious and want to consider the support moving forward, because it's been 9 years in the making, so at least we can do it.
And I would add to that, that the concern of the board is that the board be adequately represented with voting rights in that group.
6.2, report on the handicap accessibility grant.
We, as you would recall, on May 25th, we received a letter from the Department of Administrative Services authorizing and giving the project a code. What we did subsequent to that, in August of 2016, we met with the Department of Administrative Services, Michelle Dixon and Robert Clemmer, and they indicated that they had a problem with our grant because under their regulations, they could not improve the site. They could take care of the physical attributes of the interior of the building, but that's as far as they could go. They could not modify any athletic complexes, even if there was a code violation. So on November 13th, I received an email from Konstantinos Desamantis, I hope I pronounced his name right, I apologize if I didn't, to inform me that the grant cannot be provided. What had happened subsequent to that, a meeting was scheduled on December 12th. I met with DAS and Senator Ostin. Interestingly enough, the person who was responsible for the Department of Ed for creating the survey, Dr. Adrian Wood, was not present. I had sent Mr. Diamanis much of the correspondence that had gone forth between myself and Dr. Wood, and he was present with 2 of his attorneys, and just to reiterate the fact that we were not eligible for the grant to modify the site. In the discussion with Senator Ostin, if you would recall, there was a $1.3 million grant that was awarded, and just parenthetically, that grant was awarded to the town of Hebron. Now, what Senator Ostin had suggested is that we could take a look at parts of that grant and perhaps use some of that money to address some of the handicapped accessibility issues. I'm waiting for word that the grant had been, we know it was awarded, but I'm waiting for an award letter from the state officially notifying us, so that would begin, so we can begin the process of going forward with it. And until I receive word of that, I can go no further with it. But just to keep you in the loop, that we will not be getting the grant from the state for handicapped accessibility.
Couple of questions. The handicap accessibility grant had a matching fund with it. What is the status of that?
If I've spent any money on that, it's just been for a preliminary engineering survey. It's probably in the area of $2,000 to $5,000. Because they did some
That's
site
how much you
survey.
spent, that's how much you spent.
I'm waiting for him to bill me because
No. You're asking how much, right? Is-
Right.
I haven't spent anything, I'm waiting for a
Right,
bill.
so it's
The only
still-
contract that was
No, no,
awarded
I
under
understand.
was the design services.
7626, so it's 300,000 is the total.
What was the
80,000
The
is allowed
total
in.
grant was $300,000, and I believe the match was $84,000. And what we did with the $84,000 is remember we had contracted with an engineering firm, BSC, to provide drawings. The only thing that BSC has done so far is to do some survey work, because we put a hold on it after the meeting with the Department of Education, telling us that they weren't going to cover it because we were not sure of where we would be going in the future.
Then the other question is the $1.3 million grant for what essentially is the redoing of the roadway. Does that have a matching component to it?
My understanding that it does not.
Does not, okay. That's good to know.
Couple questions. On the ADA, if we were meeting with the attorneys, shouldn't we have had our attorney there with us?
It wasn't a legal meeting.
Well, all his purpose was to indicate that he did not, he could not, under his regulations, support the grant, because DAS, per state regulations, cannot modify athletic fields for handicapped accessibility, though there might be a code violation.
And on the 1.3, why did that go to Healer and not the Rham?
I don't know, I wasn't the author of the grant. I know part of the grant is going to be used to, from conversations with Mr. Tierney, I understand part of the grant is going to be used to modify the intersection of Wall Street and 66 so the traffic can flow. And that's the extent of the grant. That's the only extent that that's the extent that I know about what's contained in the grant.
So you're saying we were turned down for our grant for the 1.3?
I don't think what they said, that because of the type of work that was there, we were ineligible. Because they're talking about site modifications to an athletic complex. If
You're talking about the ADA.
1.3.
He's talking about the 1.3 for the parking.
oh,
Was,
we were awarded the 1.3 for the parking lot. I'm sorry, the town of Hebron was awarded the 1.3 for the traffic remediation. That included modifications to the intersection of 66 and Wall Street.
Let me actually, you put in, the district put in a grant request for that, right?
For-
We were the applicant.
We put a grant in for $3,000, then we put that other grant in, requesting for the traffic study. Yes, We put in for both grants.
$1.3 million grant.
we put in for both grants.
We put in for both, so we were the applicant.
That's right,
So our application was awarded to,
the town of Hebron.
We were turned down.
no, you weren't, well, the grant was accepted, it just wasn't awarded to us. It was awarded to the town of Hebron.
Right, but they can't spend it on most of what was on that grant.
See, until we see the grant, the terms of the grant, there's nothing I can do. I'm waiting for the formal award letter.
Oh,
Will you get it, or will Hebron get it?
My understanding, the way it's written right now, Hebron's going to get it.
With the letter?
So we did the grant.
They'll get the grant, but they can't spend any money at Rham.
If it's outlined in the grant, that it's to be used for traffic purposes here at Rham, wouldn't.
It was specific in there.
Did they fill out a grant
No, they
application?
won't fill out an application.
Hebron did not fill out a
They
grant?
did not.
And I'd be
And I
honest,
think that some of that dealt with the way it was handled in the legislature, something that we didn't have any control over.
Do we need to get our attorney involved in
I
that?
don't know if you need to get your attorney involved, but you might want to, from the Hebron delegation, I strongly recommend you talk to the town, because if I recall from the accident itself, there was some litigation that was made against Hebron for that accident. There was a lawsuit, I think a liability lawsuit, against, with some allegations about responsibility for traffic design or whatever, for Rham in that complaint. Now, whether that's legit or not, I don't know, I'm not an attorney. But it would be interesting if, because I'm sure Hebron would probably say they're not in charge of the safety of the design of the traffic here at the district. I would find it interesting if they would accept $1.3 million to be responsible for redesigning the safety.
Well, remember,
And I know we have a representative from the teachers here, right? Correct?
Well, what if they don't?
It's a discussion you need to be aware of, because the union was a very, I hate to say the union, but the teachers were a very important part of us addressing the safety, and now that grant, from what we're being told, somehow, some way from Hartford got redirected, even though we were the applicant, got approved, and is now going to be awarded to the town of Heber. So how that's going to work, we don't know, but it's still early, but that's.
Did our application seek to address the 66 and Wall Street?
my initial indication was no.
Our application.
Our application was one point, the last estimate, we had two estimates, if you would recall. We received one estimate from Beta for $1 million, one from BSC for $1.3 million, and they both contained work on site. They did not contain any work on 66.
So we have
The question.
The legislator who was with you at this meeting was Senator Austin, correct?
I'm sorry?
The legislator who was with you at the meeting was
Senator Osteen.
Senator Austin. Perhaps we should have a report from Senator Austin as to the complexity of, or what happened within the process of this grant
She did not offer the
application.
explanation. She only intimated, she had a discussion with the folks from DAS that she would suggest that some of that money be used to address the handicapped issues on the field. So that was the discussion at that particular time, and I think everybody was waiting to see what happened when the award letter came down. I know I was surprised that at that point to learn that the grant went to the town of Hebron. That was the first I had heard of it. And I was quite frankly surprised, because I did all the work.
I think we're all surprised, and I would think that, you know, Senator Austin is in the legislature on a, during a session, and,
She was.
but, you know, perhaps she could come and give us a report on why this has happened, because she was in on many of the meetings at facilities when we were reviewing what we were going to be putting into the master plan, and she was the one who told us to go after this, I believe.
Can we,
I believe, am I correct?
I'd like to request the board chair to communicate with Kathy Osteen and Andy Tierney to find out the details on this and report back to the board.
Have a note right here.
Second that.
Bob, 6.3, the gas conversion?
I think that with the vote tonight, what we're going to begin doing is preparing a request for proposal for engineering firms so that we can get drawings and bid documents so we can get ready to go out and bid on that. What I'd like to do is to begin work as soon as we shut the boilers off for the end of the heating season sometime in May, we hope, maybe even April. But we'd like to just get a jump on that because that project is not bound by any fiscal year. So that we'll see quotes from an engineering firm and then begin that process.
Any questions?
We want to begin the actual conversion.
I'm sorry?
We want to begin the actual conversion, is that what you said?
What I want to do is begin preparing specifications for the actual conversion. We're going to need drawings. We're going to need bid documents. We've had conversation with the building inspector. He's saying he wants stamped drawings, so we're preparing for that. And what I look like, going out, preparing that now, getting an engineering proposal, it allows us to get a jump on it and perhaps do some of the work while school is still in session at the end of the heating season.
Are we hiring someone to pull this stuff together?
What we'll be doing, the person who'll be pulling it together will be the engineer. What we're going to do is give him a bulleted list of the work that needs to be done, ask him to put a proposal together, get what his criteria are for supervising the job, and then go from there, see who is the better qualified firm.
So we are hiring an engineer.
Yes, it's required that we do hire an engineer. And we made, to let you know, we made some changes since then. We're trying to worked to cut costs, and we've asked the gas company to install a separate meter for the middle school, so we won't have to pipe from the high school boiler room to the middle school hot water heater. We're trying to do some things like that in the interim, so that we can keep the project moving and keep the costs down. And it'll be tricky at the end of the year as we approach the end of our oil allocation and how that fits with the end of the heating season, and what kind of winter it's going to be. I'm not ready to answer that question yet.
So a quick timeline is you're going to solicit between now and the next meeting?
I'm sorry?
So a quick timeline is you're going to solicit between now and the next meeting?
No, I think it's going to take, because if you look at the calendar, one that you'll be looking at tonight, the next meeting is January 9th. And with the holidays and people taking time off, there just won't be time. So my guess it'll be the February meeting.
That's fine. I'm just trying to get a timeline here. So February, you put in front of the board a recommendation to hire someone?
That would be my hope. And whether people respond in time or not, that's, we're going to advertise.
So the latest would be March? then?
Latest would be March.
Okay. All right, I just want
I just think I think there's so much work to be done. It behooves us to get a jump on it and get, do as much as we can at the end of the heating season, and to save the work with the hot water heaters and the kitchens during the summer when school is totally shut down. And we have to be careful about sanitation because the building will be used in the summer.
6.4, auditing services.
At the last meeting of the Finance Committee, there was a recommendation made and accepted that NAWC be awarded a 2-year extension on their contract to audit the district. They are currently the firm that's auditing now, and based on the recommendation of the Finance Committee, we would like to see them, see that contract extended for an additional 2 years.
Is that on the agenda?
Yes, 9.5. 6.5 budget status report.
Yes, as of November 30th, our projected balance is roughly $45,000. The main reasons for this projection is I'm projecting a $158,000 deficit in health insurance. And we've also encumbered funds for the retro commissioning of the HVAC. And we have also our excess cost estimate is down by $13,000 from last month. And then, so roughly we have about $191,000 in the budget projection that was not in last month. Nobody has to panic. I have some possible surplus ideas that, as we move forward over the next 2 months, we'll be able to determine what things, programs might have to use. For instance, we have $15,000 budgeted for police services, and I believe that we probably won't use all that because we have the SRO. And we have roughly $65,000 to $70,000 in instructional and general supplies. So right after the holidays, when we talk to the department chairs and the department directors at this point, that, we're getting to the point where if you haven't spent the money, we're not going to spend the money just to spend it.
Do you have a comprehensive recognition for the search, the superintendent search?
Yes, they did encumbrance for that. So those are the things, those encumbrances there that put those accounts in a deficit. We'll do transfers transfers are due for the January budget projection. So therefore, we're gonna look at health insurance again. That's why we're not gonna do a transfer until we'll make that recommendation in January. And on the first page of the memo, I discussed the objects and the different deficits. They're pretty much the same as they were last month still. We're still waiting to determine what our grant monies are gonna be for the educational aids and transportation and our excess costs, not our excess costs, our regular transportation grant. So, really, the only one that shows a projected deficit is that health insurance and the retro commissioning.
I have a question. None of the income for the pay-to-play and use of buildings and, I should say, pay-to-play and gate receipts, doesn't show any income?
Right, we haven't done that yet.
Haven't done that?
I believe, let's see. No, we haven't offset any of the pay to play yet. We'll do that for January.
So where does that money sit now that it's not recorded?
It sits in the checking account. We'll move the money over and we'll make adjustments.
So the money's received, and
Yeah.
it's just not recognized in the accounts.
Like if you look at the second page of unrestricted revenues,
Yep.
attachment 4, you see the pay to play receipts?
Yep.
The high school pay, that's the money there, that's where it's held, and then we'll offset it in the budget.
And I just saw there's none coming in yet.
No, the money has come in. We've received money, I just haven't offset it yet.
Yeah, and what report will show us that money?
Second page of the unrestricted revenue report. Attachment 4.
That shows us the money that came in?
Right. Middle school pay to play receipts, high school pay to play receipts.
This is the original budget. For the year. I'll leave this for this finance subcommittee. I'd like to talk about that. And one other note there is food service. We don't have any budget for money coming in from food service showing on this income line.
Showing on the budget report,
On the unrestricted revenues.
no, it doesn't show up on this report.
So it should, right?
But you have in your, the memo on the Chartwell's monthly analysis.
But we rely on that as part of our budget.
I'm sorry?
We rely on that money as part of the budget, right? That's coming in from Chartwell's?
No, this is all for, oh, you're talking about the offset that I do?
Yeah.
I usually don't do that offset until about February.
But we should be recording as the original estimate of income. Again, we can
Who
offload.
collects the income? Is it Chartwell's or us?
Well, Chartwell turns the money over to us.
Immediately, or do they true up at a certain period of time?
Oh, no, they come in
True up-
daily.
Oh, daily, okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Now, we'll leave that for the,
Anything else? Any other items?
Oh, no, sorry.
Thank you. No presentations tonight. That brings us to committee reports, communications and technology.
We didn't meet.
Facilities, safety and transportation.
We didn't meet either. Yeah, the superintendent's meeting was held
Oh,
instead.
okay. Policy. We have items on the agenda. No. But we did.
no,
Is it first reading?
Actually, I think Bruce put something on the agenda regarding
Oh, we got 9.7. Oh, it's just in there. Program committee.
We did.
We kind of did it. the whole first half of the meeting.
I don't wanna miss you, but we did.
Does anybody need to know anything else about?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so no, for program committee, and, if the other members of the committee could join in, please. We had a fairly long meeting, actually.